I'm great. And how are you? Yeah, I'm wearing my office uniform today. Yeah, everything for kicking off GSoC. So yeah.
Now. Till now, nobody listened to me. I told you before we started, this is the very first streaming of the year, and things are going to happen. I don't know why, but I lost some of the configurations of my OBS, and then suddenly my mic was not doing that, so
Yeah.
very bad. And thank you, Ayush and Mohit. Uh, I catch it to just say my mic. Thank you for saying. So people on the chat on YouTube chat. So again, we were saying something like this is the very first streaming of the year. Thank you, Yash, for staying with us
Yeah.
today, and thank you to all the guys in the community. There are 1,000 persons now in the chat. We will start in a minute or two. Um, and just how do you feel about this year, GSoC, Josh?
Yeah, feeling really great. The energy in the chat is really good. So we have been seeing you guys. We have been watching you question and answer each other. Being in a collaborative environment is like a really tough thing to do, and you guys are so natural at it. So yeah, I really love it. And we are kicking off this with web. So web is something that most of you use. JavaScript is like the most widely used, renowned language. So we'll be just talking about it in a very lot details here.
You told me already that you really enjoy how the people are interacting in Discord. We have activity. There are plenty of people sharing their knowledge, answering questions from the other colleagues, and many other questions. So it's very nice to see how Discord
Yeah.
runs for us and helps the community grow, both in
Yeah.
people and also in knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of experienced one out there as well.
Yeah. So also your talk today, that this is the very first talk of this year, but more are coming in soon. I
Uh,
think
uh, yeah,
I remember next one is from Dev Gavani. It's going to be the
yeah.
next
He
one.
is talking about GSAP, which is also very great. Something about
Deep
animations
help
and so
the
on.
community last year a lot doing the thing of the wiki. He was one of the masters of the wiki, Liquid Galaxy Wiki, that is now running on a website, and we appreciate the work. And Dev is the very first developer that wants to go reach GSoC this year, that has accomplished the two preliminary tasks, and now is going for the third task, that is the starting to create some content for the community. And his conference will be, I don't remember, but any day now. So I think we can start. There are something like 16 people on the chat on YouTube. Remember, guys, that we are gonna just Josh is gonna make his presentation. I will stay here, but reserve all the questions for the end of the chat. I will help Yash on this, but his presentation will be continuous, and at the end you will be able to send your questions through the YouTube chat, not to Discord, through the YouTube chat. Okay. So Yash, up to you. The mics are yours. I'm here. I will be here, but I'm just closing my camera
Yeah.
and the mic. Go.
Early. So yeah, this is for the web, and I'm really happy that you guys channel so much energy in me. This whole communication and interactiveness makes us so much energetic for these kind of things. And good UI is something that I am very much keen on. We saw that last year around 90% of the contributors fail to deliver some good or fantastic UI, and there are just some small tips and tricks that we have to master in HTML, CSS, and JS that I'll be talking about. And this will be for design in general as well. So some of you designers out there who wants to understand and increase their designer skills, then this talk is for you. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is to care for color contrast. Many a times I have seen that much of you have a foreground and background color, and they not really give you the whole understanding of what the text is, and maybe it could happen that it is failing some of the contrast checker test. There are two kinds of tests. One is the W3C contrast checker, that was the older one, and there is a newer adoption called the APCA, or the accessible color contrast checker, which is, I would say, a really great or a niche thing to check. You can just go to the website link that I have added here, and it would just tell you the foreground background colors. And also there is a Chrome extension or a Chrome experimental toggle that you can just turn on to experiment this. So whenever you are testing your web, or whenever you are trying to make some designs, you can just go to these links, try to test out if the foreground background colors have the enough sufficient contrast so that it is readable, it is understandable. These are some of the considerations that I would really love that you would incorporate in your upcoming projects. And let's keep going. The next thing I want to talk about is OKLCH. And I don't know how many of you have used this. You can just answer that in the chats. And this is something really good, because I have been seeing people use the RGBA, and myself also using the RGB colors. But there is a new wider gamut P3 color space. It allows you to have, you may have seen Apple doing so many colors that are so vibrant, and these are the new colors. If you're able to see that it has the small line that is showcasing how the we are just going ahead of the RGBA color space. There is a certain fallback also, so that everything is if certain color or certain device does not have the P3 color space, it can have a fallback as well. These things are some of the things to enrich your projects, make your projects look like how the UI in Apple has. And yeah, this is one of the ways. And let's keep going. The next thing I want to talk about, and this is from a book called Refactoring UI. It is a really great book, worthy reading. And I want to define the sizing system. Many of you, whenever we are making some fonts, they choose some font sizes, and you may choose some font weights as well. Why not just define the size as variables? Just use CSS variables, and then just use it throughout the project to enhance consistency. And whenever we want to make some kind of changes, then we can surely hard code it. There are some cases, some exceptions that do occur, that do happen. But more or less, I would want you to make your CSS variables, make it in such a way that you are not having any trouble which font size to choose for sizes. It could be that you are choosing, or you are making the sizes very close to each other. Let's say you made it somewhere across 70 pixel and 72 pixels, and you're not able to understand what the hero section or what size the hero section will have. So yeah, just ditch those small differences in the sizes, and try to incorporate these kind of sizes. This is really great advice for you to build your projects in much better fashion. And next I want to talk about is spacing. I have been seeing consistently people are not giving too much space in their work. They are just having, and this is exceptionally something that happens, and you cannot help it when you are on a smaller screen device like a phone. And this year we have projects that are based on phones. So I wouldn't want you to just make everything so small and squishy because you are on a very small screen size. Just try to make things more spread out. Try to make the spacing that does really matter. It just puts a charm on your work. And I have seen many great websites, they have just a lot of space, just a lot of empty space, which makes them feel rich, makes them feel enigmatic. And I would want you to do that as well. So as you can see, there are two examples that I have added here, and the above one does not include too much space. It looks kind of bad. And the lower one looks so rad. It is much better to have these kind of things as well. And the next thing, and this is really important, that whenever you go to coolers or some other color generator, what does it tell you? It tells you some different kind of colors, right? Like the color I'm having on my polo t-shirt. But that doesn't mean you have to use all of the colors like the one example on the left. Really, everything in design is just black and white, and there is a little bit of accent that adds up whenever you have to. this is how colors should work. And I would want you to create things that are mostly black and white. Just take care whether you want to go for light theme, dark theme, or you want to switch themes as well. That is also good. But more or less, the accent color should only be 10% of the color that is occupying, and that would create a very stunning effect. So yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is this is really interesting, and I have seen many of you not seeing the logical dimensions as something that you should opt instead of the physical dimensions. A property in CSS that was so much popular, like width, height, top, left, right, max width, max height, that we didn't go far from that. We just stick at it and we decided, yeah, these are the really great properties, and they are. But let's just say that you want to switch languages, and now you are writing in Urdu or Arabic, and now you have to see that the words are coming from right to left. What happens is that there is an invert. So your left becomes right, your right becomes left, and this is where all the things or all the troubles happen. So I would want you to go for logical properties. This is something you can just study using the MD and WebDocs, a very great, stunning repository by Mozilla. And I would love that you would check out what start and end is. Basically, when we are changing the language to left to right or right to left, then the start would remain as start. So let's say that we are first writing in English, and we have decided to give a margin left of 10 pixels. And there is a margin left 10 pixels, which is like really looking great. It is giving the space from your sidebar and stuff like that. But when you switch the language from left to right to left in Urdu, then it is sticking to the rightmost corner, and you really don't like it. Then you may think that, yeah, how can I conditionally define a margin right as well? Or you may want to opt something like, yeah, I will just define margin from both sides, and maybe that's good. Maybe that is a little bit of a thing that you have taken, that yeah, if we can do that as well. But it may happen that the UI is not as stunning, and you are compromising at the end. So don't compromise. You have the start feature, which acts as left on left to right languages, and acts as right on right to left languages, which is really great. So yeah. And I want to tell you one thing, that is, I have been noticing that whenever we try to make things accessible, we think that things would get ugly because you are putting too much of contrast, you are trying to make, but it is not so. Accessibility isn't ugly. Accessibility is just as beautiful as when you are just caring about UI without caring about accessibility. So I would say that I would encourage you to definitely keep care of the AAA level of conformities, which is a higher contrast ratio, and also look for very good colors, and take example from the design systems like that of Material Design by Google and Apple Design System. They would really help you out to give these tonal colors like the chips that we are seeing on the screen right now. And I would want you to care about the visual hierarchy. So yeah, let's see both the examples, and I would want you to have a look on the example on the left and the example on the right. And what do we see here? We see that the visual hierarchy is something that does not have a bold heading on the left side, and on the right side we have even made the heading smaller like a card title, but still it is standing out. The reason it is that font weight also puts a lot to the text or typography. It makes the weight feel like it is a higher up in the font size, and this is really incredible. And you can see that the price is the main option that I would want you to give a higher visual hierarchy, even though it is not an H1, it is not an H1 or H2, it is just lower in the hierarchy, but visually I would want it to be appealing. So this is how you can refactor a UI, and this is some of the ways that you can make things look beautiful. Think in such a way, what do you want to make stand out? Like, you may have seen Amazon, they make the prices stand out, and that does more than the description or more than the product dimensions and so on. And they make the add to cart stand out, and maybe the buy now is standing out. So these are the type of buttons and the type of headings that you have to take care of. You would be making some kind of Liquid Galaxy tools, settings, and other pages, and this will really keep you, and this will really be handy for you. So yeah, let's keep moving. And the next I want to talk about is a very great HTML property which can be used on basically any div or any semantic. It is called the popover attribute. The popover attribute gives you a light dismissal dialog. It adds a separate layer or a Z index above the page, so you don't have to worry about Z index yourself. and it has a default focus management. The reason why I tell you that is, let's say you are making something like the Liquid Galaxy is now connected, or we are going to shut down the Liquid Galaxy, then you would want something like a pop-up to come up, right? You wouldn't want that someone just presses shut down and it shut down the Liquid Galaxy. Those are your, I would say, dismissal or the danger task, and you would want them to have one level of security as well, not just on the click of a button, right? So there should be a pop over that tells you, yeah, should we go for it, proceed it, or should we cancel it? And yeah, this is really great. I have seen that it has good browser support. Maybe it is not support, it does not have the support in iOS for mobile devices, but yeah, it is slowly gaining the support that we need, and this will be very helpful for you. And now let's go to CSS. So what we saw so far was merely HTML, H1, H2, the text, font sizes, and so on, which also included some amount of CSS. But now I want to talk about something called media queries. And this is not the media queries that you may have thought of, like the orientation portrait, or maybe something called width, max width, things like that. This is about two media queries that are really relevant for the accessibility space. One of them is called prefers reduce motion. It allows us that some people may have a vestibular motion disorder, which makes them feel uneasy when there is certain kind of jarriness in the animation. Like there is too much animation, they wouldn't feel very comfortable around it. So prefers reduce motion is basically checking the OS configurations if they have set up that they want reduce motion, and this will have a value of no preference or reduced. So if it has a value of no preference, we can animate our things on it. And if it wants us to reduce the animations, we can just make a reduce, and that would allow us to have a reduce functionality where animations are not so much. There is not too much animations to help those people, to help accessibility. The next thing I want to talk about is prefers color scheme. Basically, people prefer dark mode or light mode. And these are the kind of things that they have always defined in their OS. Like my operating system is in dark mode. So most of the applications I see are already in dark mode. And we can do this on the web. The property to do this is called prefers color scheme. It allows you to check from the OS level configurations whether the system is set to light mode or dark mode, and you can just adapt the colors from there. There is one more thing called the CSS light dark, which allows you to set the light dark colors as well. And these properties together come so much in handy. And let's keep on going. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this might be an example that you have seen in the Discord community, it uses CSS layers. And what are layers is, let's say that we have something like a face, and now the face has some layers or something that are above the other. Like you have your brain very much inside, then you have your tissues, muscles, above it would be skin, and so much like that. And this is how we can define layers in CSS. We can just give the layer attribute. We can define your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers, or some variables. And then we can define what do we have to include in those layers, like the add layer property, and define the module and state as the example that we are seeing right now. So this is something that I would want you to take a look at. It really puts a very good thing that you do not have to worry about Z indexes. The example on the left does not have too much Z index. It does not have any Z index, to be honest. So there is a tongue that has the layer that comes very much underneath, and then above it is your teeth, and above that is the mouth, or and things that allow me to do this. So I would want you to take a look at layers. You may be dealing with some complex animations, and this would help you a lot. And yeah, I'm really loving the things that I'm talking about in CSS. But to be honest, there are a lot of things that have happened in CSS. To be honest, not many of the communities are driven or knowing, because things get, I would say, accepted with some vendors. It may get rejected with some vendors. Things keep coming and going. But at the moment, what we have is two kind of things called basic widely available properties, or the basic newly available properties, baseline, sorry. So what is a baseline widely available? It tells that all the vendors like Safari, Chrome, Firefox have it, and it has been like 2.5 years since the property is existent. and baseline newly available, let's say, also writes an year next to it. So let's say baseline newly available 2024 would mean that the property is supported in the very latest and the niche browser versions in the very latest installations, but it may not be compatible if someone is using an older version, and there must be a fallback needed. So some properties like view transitions, scroll timeline, which is when you scroll, the whole animation can just be animated without using any JavaScript. The CSS property values, we'll be seeing CSS property shortly. The scroll snap that allows you to create very nice cursors, and so many more examples. Color mix property to mix any two colors and make a third color using percentages, and the supports property to know if any of the other properties are supported in CSS or not and get a fallback for it. And you can also refer to the CSS Houdini. And I do not know how many of you know about CSS Houdini. Just write it in the comments as well. I'll be watching it. It is a low-level API that allows CSS to do so much stunning things that CSS was not able to, like animating background gradients, which is very stunning. And whatever you do, I would want you to just keep it progressively enhanced. Progressive enhancement means that if something is not available for a certain browser or vendor, then there must be a fallback or kind of a polyfill that allows some other property to show up just so that they are not missing out. Let's say that we are using a property that uses AI for a hypothetical case, then we must also enable some kind of backup that has a default message or has something that could show up so that the user does not run an error and he feels bad that why his vendor is not supporting it. So yeah, and let's keep going. And would you fancy a demo? I would. So the one that I would be showing right now is a demo for the Google Voice. You can see on the right side how good it animates. And let's first think for a while that whenever it is animating, I am seeing a kind of a pattern here. I'm seeing four colors, and you may see blue, red, yellow, and green, and they never change their order, which means that it could have been that they are using something like a background gradient, and that gradient has, let's say, 0 to 25% of blue, 25 to 50% of red, 50 to 75% of yellow, 75 to 100 of green. And then whenever we are animating things, then the color just, I would say, the percentages just change. So let's take a look at how it would be happening. And here I have a demo. I have just created something called Google Voice here. It is an experimental demo. It has a rec property, and there are two recs. Just don't worry about the second one at the moment, and I'll be talking about that one does. And we have CSS color variables defined on the root element here. So we have the four colors, the blue, red, yellow, and green that they're defined. And we have a background just so that we can see it. Not really that matters. And we have this experimental property that is taking a size, height, and width in CSS logical dimensions that I talked about. And it is taking a background image of linear gradient with these colors defined. But now comes the question, how do I animate this? And I have tried animating this directly, but the problem was background colors don't really animate. And I was just furious about how to go about it. So there is a certain thing called property that I talked about. Property is also a CSS Houdini property, no pun intended, that allows you to create these data, which is contributing that whenever we have these kind of data, then they could be changed, and those low level changes will allow us to play with these things. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about. I will just remove this experiment, and whoops. So this will just be removed from here. Now I'm not seeing anything, and I will just go ahead and get these properties uncommented. So now I have 4 or 6 properties that are defining all the colors. And yeah, let me just do it the right way. Yeah, I don't want to lose this code. And yeah, so now I have all the 6 colors, which means that at every 0 to 25%, at every boundary of 2 colors, I have 2 variables defined. So let's say the blue red, the red yellow, the yellow green, and there are like these 3 boundaries between those 4 colors. And for every boundary, I have 2 variables that are defined, so I can just play with the values. I hope that makes sense. And the next thing I'm going to do is uncomment this particular line, and I will also uncomment this rect blur, and you can just see what it does now. So let's go ahead uh, and yeah, that will do. I believe so. Okay, that doesn't work. I will just go the traditional way now. Just remove this, and I will remove this and this too. So now let's see what do we have here. We have this rect blur and the rect, and I will just remove this blur so you can understand better what it is doing. So we have two rect that are over the top of each other, and I'm just blurring one out to get the effect. Both are defined by rect and animated by rect with animation which has a keyframe of voice. And this voice is nothing but I am just changing the value of properties. I'm just playing with these property values that I have defined somewhere, if I can find it here. So let's just uncomment that as well and just see how this animation works. And to be honest, this is nothing. I'm just playing with CSS variables here, and it is allowing me to create the stunning effect that I would want. And let's take a look. So yeah, it is really cool, right? It is giving you that voice look that you have. You can do a couple of things here. You can maybe, instead of animating it directly, use some JavaScript and just see whatever voice is coming, what is the magnitude or the wavelength of that voice. Just use a float 32 array that allows you to check if it is above a certain threshold, and if it is, then just use this animation that will allow it to be animated. And if it is not, then it can have a, I would say, a default or a lower animation and stuff like that. You can just tweak it to the way you want. And let's not just stop at here. So this was the demo I wanted to talk about. This really gives you a, I would say, one up in the task that you are having. Maybe you can just take an idea and just deliver it using that. And yeah, this is more or less it. I just want to showcase that this is just one of the ways to do it. And if I just go in this video, then we can also do it using SVGs. And yeah, that is a nice way. I wanted to use CSS, so I did. SVG is also great. And it is not very difficult to just create 4 rectangles and add a certain drop shadow to each of them. And yeah, this is also a way. I would say in front end, there are multiple ways to get things right. And let's keep moving. The next I want to talk about is something in JavaScript. Now we are moving ahead from CSS, and now we are entering the JavaScript phase. And this is something called conditional chaining. And maybe you have heard of it, maybe you have not. This is kind of an object that allows you to conditionally check something if something exists or not. Like we have a cat name constant, and we are checking if the adventurer.cat.name, which is called Dina, is existing or not. And then if it is, then we are getting the console log value. And if we check for dog.name and there is no dog, so how would we get that? And we are conditionally chaining that as well. And in the next one, we are conditionally chaining a function, and we get undefined. That's great. How it is happening? The key thing is that whenever we used to chain these objects before, and whenever a value did not exist, it usually throws up an error. That error caused us to move from the try to a catch block if we have a try and catch, or to move to the nearest throws keyword so that we can just raise that particular error, and the next line or next statements of code do not execute, which was a really bad thing, that we were not able to execute whole of those lines. And now we can just silently fail. This will allow it to silently fail, which means that if it does not exist with the question mark, it just puts that to undefined, then it goes back, puts the next one to undefined, then put the next one to undefined. So everything that does not exist is chaining and trying to see, yeah, does this exist? Yeah, does this exist? And if it is not, it is just getting to undefined, which is really great. And the next I want to talk about is called the bang bang operator. I don't know if you have heard about it. A single not operator, or called a bang, is just used to convert anything from a boolean true to a boolean false. Let's say the value is a string, which is a truthy value. And if we use this not operator, it will convert it from, let's say, its value to a boolean value. which is really I would say something very interesting. So a single knot on hello would make it false, but a double knot called the bang bang operator would again force convert it to a boolean into a true. So bang bang means the way that I remember it, it is called bang bang. You are a boolean now, so it converts anything to a boolean, which is something you can use to reduce the code complexity. Maybe you want to use an if statement that could return true or a function, but instead you can just use this bang bang operator and it will just make things easier. And let's keep going. And there are a ton of these great widely available properties. You can just always check if it is baseline widely available and then use it, because 2.5 years is a long time that have passed since these properties are supported. There is not much chance that some vendor will just drop it or would bug out. And yeah, these are some great properties to use. The next I want to talk about is called the null coalescing operator, which is an operator that could take over the ternary operators in case it checks that is the first value null or undefined, and if it is, it just goes to the next value and checks if the next value is null or if the next value can be passed into the variable. So let's just say we have this val a and we are checking val a and the null is coalescence operator and then a string. So it checks if the first value is null, it is, then it just goes to the next value. It does not check the next value, it just returns the next value to val a. And the next thing that we have is val b. Now we have an empty text. And empty text is not nullish, it is not null or undefined. It is falsy, and falsy is a different thing. So it just checks if the value is nullish or not. And if the value, let's say you are using some kind of API, the API is not working, it is returning you undefined, and that is causing you an error. But maybe you can use this null coalescing and you can just combine it with a conditional chain if you have some object and you are just getting that object or rest or data. And then if it is not giving you the value, you can have some solid output that could come instead of, or you can just define your own throws or own try and catch that could be very helpful. And yeah, it would allow you to have a level of, I would say, configuration, a level of control over the code. And let's keep moving. This one is very much related to the last operator that I talked about. It is called the nullis coalescence assignment, which means I would check if the value on the left side is available as a non-nullish value. If it is, then I would not assign it to the rightmost value. But if it is undefined, then it would get the value. So a dot speed, as you can see, is not defined because a is an object that just has duration and not speed. So a dot speed checks, yeah, does this exist? It does not because it is undefined. And then it goes with the nullish coalescence to assign it the value 25 because that's the value on the right side. So this is a very good check that you could use, and it makes your code so much easier to look at, because seeing these properties, I would say, is something that you have to learn. They are available for these users, and it would just make your code look much cleaner. And maybe you can write a comment for developers who may not know about this property. So yeah, they may see, is it a syntax error? No, it's not. Why is it working? So they could understand what it is. And this does not end here. So this is something that I want to say is really neat from the Chrome team. The Chrome team is making the built-in AI APIs to make AI the first class citizen for the web. You can directly use some of the greatest APIs that I have seen, called the prompt API, that is like a free flow AI that can answer anything, just directly available in Chrome. And how cool is that? And similar lines, we have the writer and rewriter to write anything. Maybe you can just say, write a KML that takes me to London, and it would just define the whole KML thing. And maybe you can use those operators that I have shown before if it returns undefined or does not work. So you can have some kind of fallback as well. And these are some APIs that are, I would say, really neat, but also they are just coming up. So you will need, and not just may need, but will need some kind of fallback as well if you are defining these properties. This is so cool, right? We have done a lot of talk about HTML. We have done a lot of talk about CSS. We did a talk about JS and all the newer APIs. This was not something that was just talking about all the various usual things that you may see. but also something that you see on the baseline newly available properties. So you can write your code with this expertise, and you can deliver your code with the most optimized and the most performant ways. And my final pointers are here. I am just taking this last slide to tell that you have a list of well-crafted UI challenges. You have to take care about UI. You have to take care about UX, how it looks, how it works. You know the drill. And you don't copy any code. This is strongly something I suggest. Just try to do what's the best to your knowledge. And if it does not look as neat or as, I would say, equal to the UI at hand, to the task that you have to do. Maybe the next challenge I remember was the Gemini logo, and you're not able to animate it that smoothly. Maybe try to learn things. Maybe try to understand how you can deliver it, because later you may need to use some stunning UI, and you may think that you are falling short on this. We really want an impact in UX this time. We really want an impact in UI this time. Creating these stunning experiences, something like a work of art that I want each and every one of you to do. And yeah, that was all. I hope that you have brought some question and answers. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the live demo. And yeah, feel free to raise any questions. I'll be checking on my YouTube. I will go on my YouTube and check it. So Andrew.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Yash. We are gonna go to the YouTube. 1 second, I'm changing the screens. And I already told people that they can start to put their questions. I think you have a few. So you can start. The first one is from Ridwick. Could you please read the question and answer?
Yeah, I'm just going to YouTube, and I will just take
your
all
time,
the questions.
Take your time.
Yeah.
I'm just also preparing live another screen for the OBS with the questions. And now I think we are live. So guys,
Okay,
remember that for the contributors attending, remember that we are live on YouTube, so it might happen that there will be some delay between your questions or answers. It's always a little bit of a mess. It depends on the network. So first is from Ritwick. Yash.
Yeah, I just saw the Ritwik question. I will just repeat it. What can I use to create a web app for Task 2? Flutter or HTML, CSS, JS? I am new to Flutter. I would suggest you go for Flutter right now. And I would suggest that we are still experimenting things on something called the LG web app. It is an experimental thing that would first get tested by the internal team at Liquid Galaxy. Once it is tested and verified, we would be posting it that, yeah, we will be doing this. But as long as it is not sure shot, I would want you to just go for Flutter and just wait on things from our side as well. So yeah, I hope that answers it.
But let's go a little bit deep on this because it's something we've been, I would say, debating among the senior mentors of the Liquid Galaxy project, and you all at this moment have to know that we still haven't decided what is going to be our tech stack for the web thing. So Task 2 has to be developed under Flutter for now, not HTML, CSS, JS. But we have a new task. It's task 5 that Mentor Yash has written for you, asking you to create some stuff. Could you please explain the task 5?
Okay, so I will just go back to the task 5 final pointer. I wanted to say that you could do this in Dart or Flutter as well before I start. And it is something that you could use your vanilla JS, CSS, HTML, any TypeScript, Vite, some other framework like Svelte, Angular, React, whatever you love. And you can use GSAP as well. That is all up to you. You can use SVG, Lotte files. This is all as good as long as you deliver the UI that is consistent with the examples that was given. And also some of the things would be created in KML. So don't use HTML, CSS, JS there. And I would want to see the kind of UI you bring. We had a challenge that in previous years, we saw that some UI were not as good looking as we wanted them to be. So this year, I am just taking the thing that we would be pitching the best UI possible for GSoC.
So to have it clear, task 2 is Flutter for now, because we still haven't decided what is our tech stack, final tech stack for web. But task 5 is something you can do with the web technologies following Mentor Yash specifications. This has to be very clear. So sorry, but for now we are not going to be jumping to the XML, web, whatever technology, because still it's not the site. Next question is from Tagahat. How do I have to read? Hagat.
I think it is Tathagat. I'm not so sure.
Excuse my Indian pronunciation, we have to learn.
Yeah, he has used the build AI API before. It is still in the early review period, and this is something that the Chrome team has been doing really great. They are also offering multimodality stuff that we would really much enjoy, and that's why I said progressively enhance it. You would always need to have a fallback AI API that would allow you to create the same experience, a kind of like a polyfill, whenever you don't have those API readily available. And let's go for the next, Divyansh. How do you balance aesthetic design and choices with accessibility? I would say they go hand in hand. To be honest, if it is not accessible, it is neither radical nor revolutionary to me. I would want them to be aesthetic as much as you can, but at the same time be accessible. Let's just take in consideration there is a form. Yeah, I would want the form to be semantically correct, use the form values, use the method dialogue, whatever, if it is a dialogue, and use the search tag if it is a search bar or something like that. So it should be semantically correct. That's the first thing. It should have all the tab indexes if it needs, so that you could toggle it with your keyboard. That is all a part of accessibility, but still you have CSS to do, right? You can do a lot of CSS still that would allow you to create the same effect. Take a look at how material design by Google has done it. Everything is so much accessible and neat. At the same time, they look so good. The MD ripple effect is something that you should be taking a look at. And let's just keep going for questions.
Yeah.
I hope that answers you.
Devashish.
I think that was Devyansh, and Devashish is the next one.
Yeah.
Could provide some resources for KML, except for the KML documentation for the especially good looking 3D model. So I would want you to take a look at some Blender community things that are working specifically in Collada. So Collada or .dae format is something that you need for making the 3D stuff happen on Google Earth. And as long as you export that particular 3D model in Collada or DAE, it is same as what you have in GLTF or some other widely known web formats. And I hope that answers you, Devashish.
Just let me add something here because it's a very interesting question. So guys, we are saying this year that we are looking for, of course, a very nice crafted user interface with accessibility. This is just, I will not say obsession, but reality. We have to develop with nice accessibility always. And of course, it has to be a nice UI. But on top of this, or next to this, we want the best KMLs this year. We are not going to have projects this year that do not send us in the proposal preparation for GSoC or in the delivery of the different project they will have on the GSoC, a perfect, nice, crafted KMLs. It was a problem we have in the last years. I would say not a problem, but a question. I mean, people take a lot of time, devote a lot of time to make the UI, to get the data, maybe make some AI and so on, but suddenly at the end the KMLs were, I would say, so simple or even bad. And we are a KML project. Finally, what we do is represent data on Google Earth, and the data has to be represented on KML. So this year we have to focus a lot KML, appearance, user interface, and accessibility. So this question about the 3D KMLs is very interesting. Let me remember again who was the person, because the scroll up, I'm touching in the bad screen. I'm touching and I can scroll. So Devashish. So Mentor Yash says something about using Collada, Blender, and so on. But I will say that you have to take care, because when people use Blender and they're used to make a 3D representation of an amazing world with figures, with many different objects, they don't care about the number of points or polygons. But this is not the same working for the Liquid Galaxy, because at certain point you cannot make, I don't remember the quantity, the size that we can make the KMLs, and also I remember we can make anidate KMLs inside KMLs. But the question is, you cannot make an enormous 3D whatever in Blender and just think you are going to bring it to the Liquid Galaxy.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen because the system will not support it. So as a tool, it's very interesting. To get some ideas is very interesting, but you have to take care. So, and to continue, because we have many other questions, I am proposing now at this moment for all the different 15 or whatever number of users are with us, or for the other ones that will see this streaming later, that for the streamings that the contributors, one of the GSoC contributors have to do, the 3 different technical streamings, I want people that looks specifically for KMLs and 3D. KMLs have not to be on 3D a must, but if you do this on 3D, those are amazing. So don't have to be 3D, but you can generate it with the 3D tools, and then if they are 3D and not so big, they can be very, very, very nice. So I want some contributors developing this idea. If there is none, I will try to find a specific person that has this knowledge. So very good questions. Next one, Yash.
So next one is by Shubham. He says that are there frameworks except those in pub.dev that we can use to improve our UI in Flutter? I believe you can just code directly in Dart as well. That I have seen someone do that for the day-night toggle button, which is, I would say, a really difficult UI to make. That sun and moon icon, that has become a meme-worthy difficult UI. But someone just used Dart to make it. So if you could do things in Dart and directly delivered some solutions, that will show that you have the core knowledge to deliver it. But at the same time, you can just look at pub.dev. That is the only and main source that we get all those Flutter packages. So just try to find something that is Dart 3 ready, which is, I believe, the latest one. And that would allow you to create those stunning effects. Try to make your own, but yeah.
Okay.
Next question by Vedang. He says, for the T5 project, would it be acceptable to submit CodePen files like you did for? I would say if you make it in CodePen, just export the CodePen and just upload it to GitHub, make a GitHub page for it, and that would be much better. So we could have all of the deployed links on GitHub. We could have the code on GitHub. That would be easy for us to see. Because if you think about CodePen, you cannot put all the T5, all the challenges, individual challenges into the same, I would say, CodePen, but you can make a single GitHub repo that could have each of the folders for the different tasks. I hope that makes sense. So Aryan says, you mentioned the UI challenges. So do we incorporate UX with it? They can be different things. So what should we focus on more? I would say both, because it has to be a balance. First, start with the right semantics. That is the best thing. HTML already has the best UX if you use the right semantics. Don't become a div ops because you use too many div elements and nothing else. I would not want that. And yeah, definitely go for the best semantics and then deliver good UI on top of it. And Divyansh says, yeah, okay. Swapnil says, is there any resources we could practice our skills or enhance them? I would say GSAP has a very good experimental or a very good library where people have done it. There is also something called Tim Fanus where people deliver very good exceptional UI. You can just look up on their code, but more or less you wouldn't find many YouTube videos or stuff like this. There is something by Adam Argyle. He is the Chrome CSS. I just remember it. He makes something called GUI challenges, those GUI challenges, in his playlist for Google for Chrome for developers, and you can just take a look at it. That is the best example that I could give you. Okay, so I think we have exhausted all the questions. I really love that many of you wrote that CSS Houdini is something that you would love to take a look at. And yeah, I would want you to take a look at this. And many of you also wrote that some of the properties were new, but also I saw that some of you tried the built-in AI APIs. That was an early preview program by Google. So that kudos on that. And I think we
Let's
will
wait.
wait for
Let's
some.
wait for a couple of minutes for people sending us all the questions. And I will say that also that a reminder. There has been a conversation on the Discord about the tomorrow's date. Tomorrow's is a ending date. So let's finish this and go for the questions that suddenly appeared on the YouTube. So tomorrow is January 10th, and this was the date we asked something like 2 months ago for you all to create the task one. That's the virtual Liquid Galaxy installation. We have reached, I think, something like 43 installations, and we still have some of you that haven't sent the right one, for usually for the typical problems, not using a smartphone, or maybe recording the video vertically. Those, I would say, very stupid situations, because it's clearly written on the specification of the tasks. But guys, tomorrow is the last day for sending the virtual Liquid Galaxy installation. So please, if you have intention of stay with us in the future, it's the day to send this video. And now we have a few more questions, Yash.
Yeah, I will just see the question by Mahib. It is called the he's just type Adam Argyle GUI challenges. He is enough known in the YouTube space. You will just get the first pop up. So he makes some GUI challenges and he does it very well. And yeah, the next question is by Shivam. He says color theories. Yeah, it is definitely one of the most important UI UX things. And is KML and UI quality something that also matters for task two? Or focus on? I would say KML also needs to have nice looking graphics.
No, but I will add that this is not really important. Uh,
Yeah,
what is important is that you read the instructions for the tasks, not for T2 or
yeah,
whatever, for all the tasks, because it takes time for us to write the tasks. Sometimes, of course, we can do errors, or we can not to have them fully defined, but with the time we edit this and we say we have edited this. So the question is that you have to read. So for task two, it's not a matter of your KML is super fantastic, and the software has a super amazing usability. No, because it's so simple. We need to see that your application, your coding skills in Flutter are right, and just you know how to send information to the Liquid Galaxy and to the stuff on the system. Is that? I mean, we are not looking at this moment for nothing else than just your ability to code for the Liquid Galaxy and in Flutter.
yeah,
What will be good T2 submission? Ariane, I mean, it's totally clear on the website what you have to do. It's something like a simple stuff. I'm not going to share the screens because maybe I crashed the streaming, but the point is that you only have to make a couple of buttons, send a KML, send a logo, and also have the option to delete the logo or the KML. So follow the instructions that are clearly written. And if you don't understand something, please send a email to liquidgalaxylab@gmail, or use the Discord for the community and you will be answered. So follow always the instructions. Thank you, Mahib, for your questions too. Any other question, Yash?
yeah. I think that was more or less everyone. We will just wait for some time, I believe. And yeah, that is something I wanted. Wonderful. Everyone loves the web, and everyone will be trying more and more
But
of GUI challenge.
we have to be clear on this. We still haven't decided what is going to be our tech stack. It might happen. We already said that in other streams. It might happen, but we didn't arrive on time for this year GSoC to have this technology stack decided. So it might happen that there will be some GSoC projects that will be helping us in testing and defining these technologies. So stay tuned, And let's cross those fingers because I want also to say publicly, remember the very first phrase you will find on the Liquid Galaxy main and unique GSoC post. Google still has not announced Google Summer of Code 2025. Of course, we are pretty confident. We hope that this happens, and we will have the announcement at any moment. But even not having the announcement make us and everybody on more pressure, because we need to have it finished, and we will have less time for the community to make all the paperwork or whatever with Google, not us, but all the communities, open source communities in the world. So please stay tuned to the tasks, read the task rightly, do the task on time, and remember, and this is my last question, that you all are being noted on your activities. So when you answer questions in Discord for other colleagues, when you send us comments, when you do your tasks and whatever of you have helped mentor Yash on the new Go store or other tasks we have, like the photo team. I have to thank Jay Barjan that helped us finally. There was something like 5 students developing the new photo team for this year, and only him finished the task. It will appear anytime soon on our site. But take a look at the dates, read with clarity the tasks, and if there is any problem, contact us, because we have to be on time. Nothing else from our side. So thank you very much, Yash.
Yeah, thank you so much for this joining, everyone.
Okay, remember that on the Discord we have the announcements for the other upcoming streamings, and I can tell you that surely at the end of next week or the other will come several streams with your installations of the Liquid Galaxy, just for all to share the knowledge and see how other contributors perform, and nothing else. So thank you very much. I'll see you on the next Liquid Galaxy streams. Bye bye.
Bye bye.